It's easy to say, of course I love myself, but are you actually practicing radical self-love? In this episode, we dive into radical self-love and why it's important. Welcome to the Abundance Hack Show, Season 4, where we are focusing on mastery. The last 3 seasons, I gave you the information. Now, we're focusing on integrating it into our lives and embodying it. If you are ready to master your thoughts, emotions, and patterns to feel whole, fulfilled, and really grounded in who you are without dimming your shine so you can live the abundant life that you truly desire, then you are in the right place. Hey M&Ms, thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. What are you manifesting in your life today? If you're joining me for the first time, although M&Ms are really yummy candies, it actually stands for Magical Manifestors because we are manifesting by default. And if you're listening to this podcast, it means that you want to manifest abundance. You want to manifest bliss and joy and happiness and passion. So welcome. Today's podcast episode is all about radical self-love, and I actually planned on talking about radical self-love last week, but I felt inspired to talk about something else, but everything happens for a reason because between that point and today, I hosted some events for Galentine's. It was like a goddess circle style event where we focused on radical self-love. And I have a whole new awareness today than I did previously. So it was meant to pan out this way. And I'll just tell you, I don't have any notes for this episode. Usually I write down notes to outline what I'm going to say in the episode. This is coming straight from my heart, and who knows what's going to come up. So we're just going to go with the flow. That's what the divine feminine does, right? Goes with the flow. So let's see how this episode pans out. Okay, so radical self-love is a term that I actually heard for the first time from Gala Darling, and she has a book, Radical Self-Love. And I think it's really easy for people to say, of course I love myself, but I think that there are so many layers to self-love. I do have another podcast episode about self-love. And so to me, loving yourself is like, okay, I eat decent, I work out, I take care of my well-being decently, and I'm going to work and doing the things that a responsible adult is supposed to do. Of course, I love myself. And then there's a whole other level. To me, radical self-love means that you have looked at your light and dark. You've looked at the good, the bad, and the ugly. And when I say the ugly, a lot of times I feel like it's society's programming us to think that these parts of us are ugly. Not saying that some people don't have ugly parts, but I feel like if you're listening to this podcast, you're a good person. Like, you're a generally good person. So I doubt that anyone is listening to me that's just a bad person, but we have parts of us that we feel are unlovable. So for me, radical self-love is being willing to look at your shadow, being willing to look at your toxic patterns, being willing to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly, and work to fully accept yourself, fully accept all of you, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the light and the dark. And then making sure that you are honoring how you feel, honoring your desires, honoring your emotions, and prioritizing your self-care and your self-love. And to me, the combination of all of that is radical self-love. I don't know Gala Darling's exact definition of like how she breaks it down, but to me, that's what it is. Like, all of those pieces, all of those layers, to me, is radical self-love. So the Galentine events that I did, it started out with a journal exercise. And while they're journaling, I'm playing sound bowls. So the beauty in sound bowls is it takes you into your theta state. So we have 5 different brain waves. Our theta brainwave is the space between our conscious and subconscious. a lot of our blocks and insecurities and fears and limiting beliefs are actually stored in our subconscious. And that's why a lot of people don't have awareness around the things that actually hold them back, or they don't have awareness around their toxic patterns because they're all subconscious. So the beauty in journaling while listening to sound therapy, like sound bowls, is that you're able to access some of those subconscious blocks and limiting beliefs for the purpose of being able to release them because they're not serving you. So I did one event, and it was so moving, and I have so much compassion for this moment. But one of the girls just stopped and was just like I can't do this. This is making me realize how much I don't love myself. And it was a really powerful moment because she was with a group of friends. So it was an opportunity for them to really hold space and reflect to her the things that are beautiful about her. So I'm going to try not to get emotional here, but it was a really, really beautiful moment. And I think that we can get in a pattern of being in our day-to-day grind and going, and we don't stop and reflect on these things. And so if you don't stop and reflect on these things, you don't have awareness around them. And so many people are in autopilot, just in their monotonous routines. And then we also get caught up in comparison with social media. So that's a whole other level of it. And we don't stop and really go within to understand what we have going on. And this was a beautiful opportunity for them to do so. And then I did the event again with another group of women, and just watching, like, some of the questions, was like, what is something you love about you that's unique? What is something that you're really great at? What is something that's beautiful about you? And watching how many women had a hard time answering some of these questions. And it's really hard to see how many amazing, talented, beautiful women don't see their own beauty and don't see their own uniqueness and don't see their own magic. And, the exercise obviously is to bring awareness around these things. And then I had a really beautiful guided meditation that they went into to help them tap into their goddess energy and their divine femininity, to remember that you are a beautiful, magical, sovereign being. So it just really made me realize there is some work to be done with confidence, self-worth, self-love, and women really seeing how beautiful they are. And I think that as amazing as social media is, because it's connecting us to people across the world, there is definitely a shadow side of it. And comparison, everyone's life looks so amazing on social media, it makes a lot of women feel insignificant and invalidated and insecure. And there was a theme of people pleasing, I do all these things for other people, and a lot of people are living their lives for other people or living their lives for the gram. And so when it came to answering the question of okay, what are you doing that's self-loyal? What are you doing for you? What are you doing for self-care for you and not for other people? That was another challenge. So you guys, it's really, really important. And this isn't just for women. This is for men as well. It's really important that you spend time, one, getting to know yourself on a deeper level. And you have to be willing to look at the shadows. So this journal exercise asks questions like, what is an area you judge others on? What's an area you judge yourself on? You have to be willing to look at these things, because that's data that you need to, one, understand yourself, and two, be able to fully accept yourself. If you're not willing to look at these things, then it's like saying like you love something that you don't even understand. You love something that you don't even know, like I love Swahili. I can't speak Swahili. So how do I know I love it? It's kind of one of those things. Like you have to know it. You have to know it, and you have to know yourself to be able to say, I love myself radically. And, I explained to the women doing the journal exercise, like, okay, I know that, you want to come here and feel all good and blissful and feel all the feels, but I don't believe in spiritually bypassing. So I don't want us to just jump right into some positive affirmations and not take a moment to shine light on our shadows. Like let's clean out the stuff that's been swept under the rug. Let's clean out the skeletons in the back of the closet. And sometimes that process is uncomfortable. Sometimes it sucks, but it is what has to happen for you to have that clarity and it just be clean and clear so you can love yourself radically. So looking at where we judge others, because we judge in the areas that we are most susceptible to shame. And looking at where you judge yourself. So looking at your negative self-talk, looking at where you say like, oh my God, I'm stupid, or I'm dumb, or I'm crazy, or, and I'm sure some people's negative self-talk gets even worse than that. But looking at the areas in life that cause you to talk negatively to yourself and making the decision to nip it in the bud when it happens. Life is going to challenge us. One of the biggest things that I explained to them when I did this event is that it's not like, oh, I love myself and that's it. Poof, I love myself forever. It's a continuous practice, just like fitness. You don't work out, one time and then you're fit forever. So just like you have a workout regimen, you need a self-love regimen. Like, what are you doing today to show yourself that you love yourself? And another part of the journal exercise was inner child work. So here's the thing. I have a radical self-love guided meditation that's on my website, niajae.com, Niajae. And what I'm going to do is add that journal exercise to the guided meditation. So I'm going to attach it. So if you want to purchase the bundle, you can go to my website, click on meditations, and it'll be there. It'll say Radical Self-Love, and you can purchase the guided meditation, and I'm throwing in the journal exercise. So you can download the PDF, you can print it, or just answer the questions in your journal. But it's so important for us to do the work, to really reflect on these things, like that mindfulness. Like we're so used to going, and not pausing long enough to look at these things. And then when people have depression and anxiety and they're not fulfilled and just like the stress just piles on top of the stress, and then they look back and they're like, how did I get here? It's because we're not pausing long enough to really reflect on who we are, how we're showing up in the world, and having like true awareness, because there's a lot of people that are not self-aware. Like, have you ever heard someone say like, I'm a positive person, and they're like, I don't know about that, like. Or I've heard someone say recently, like, I love fiercely. And I'm like, I don't feel that fierce love, So and obviously it's always levels and perspective to things, but it's like having awareness around who you are, what makes you tick, what makes you puff up, what makes you shrink, will allow you to have grounded confidence grounded confidence. And to me, that radical self-love requires grounded confidence, understanding who you are, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the light and the dark, and fully accepting that. And, sometimes fully accepting things, it's a process. It's a process. It requires a lot of inner child work and understanding what is the root cause of some of our toxic ways. And everyone has a toxic pattern. So it's not like some people are just perfect. No one's perfect. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect. I have tons of toxic patterns that I've been working through over the years because I want to be the best version of myself. So every time a new toxic pattern comes to my awareness, I'm like, ooh, let's nip this in the bud. And that's what we have to do with our negative self-talk. That's what we have to do with our self-judgment. And usually self-judgment is mimicking programming from our childhood. If we had a critical mom, or if people said this when we were a kid, if people said that, or they made us feel this way, then we tend to judge ourselves, mimicking the thing that actually caused us the pain. And so paying attention to where you judge yourself and paying attention to where you judge others will give you so much data and self-awareness. Then you can nip those toxic patterns in the bud when they come up. And that process is going to increase your self-acceptance and self-compassion and self-awareness. And that's how you work towards self-love. And really paying attention to, here's another thing that I realize: we dismiss so much of our feelings. And I'm in a space right now in my life where I'm really embracing the yes and. Rather than feeling like something has to be either or, it's a yes and. So paying attention to your emotions, okay, for example, something happened on my birthday that hurt my feelings. I went to the spa, I went to dinner that night. The spa is amazing, dinner is amazing, and I also was deeply hurt by something. So it's just because I'm at the spa doesn't completely negate the fact that I'm disappointed. Society will lead you to believe that you can't be happy and sad at the same time, and I call bullshit. And I've spoken about this on a podcast episode a long time ago. I call bullshit. We are dynamic beings that are capable of a wide variety of emotions. And so what happens is, if you believe that you can't be happy and sad at the same time, then when you're happy, you'll feel like you can't be sad, and so you're suppressing your sadness. When you're sad, you'll feel like you can't be happy, and then you end up suppressing your happiness. And you may think why would someone suppress their happiness? Let me just tell you, the sacral chakra, you have no idea how many people have blocks in their sacral chakra. Sacral chakra controls passion, creativity, and pleasure. So it also controls excitement and that zest for life. When people suppress their happiness and excitement, and I was actually taught to suppress my excitement. Don't get too excited or you'll jinx it. Don't get too excited or you'll jinx it. And so people feel like, ooh, I can't get too excited because if I get excited, then the other shoe is going to drop. It is bullshit, okay? Bullshit. Because what happens is you start to suppress your excitement, and then you get a block in your sacral chakra, and then it blocks your creativity. It blocks you from being able to receive pleasure. It blocks your zest for life. You ever met a person that's just dull? Just dull and bland, and they're just going through the motions of life. It's because they're not allowing themselves to feel. They're not feeling the excitement. And a lot of times people do that so they don't feel the pain. But when you numb the pain, you also numb the excitement and the pleasure and the happiness and the joy. Look, you guys, I'm on a rant now. And so making sure that you are not suppressing your emotions and feelings, and feel them because they are valid. And just because something wasn't meant to, like, let's just say, like, if someone says something to you and it triggers you, like, they may not have meant any harm by it. And even if they don't mean any harm by it, it doesn't mean that you should dismiss how you feel. It's data. Like, okay, why did this feel this way to me? What did I attach to its meaning? What did I make it mean? And leaning into those situations rather than just like suppressing them or dismissing them, because we're in a space. I see so many posts on social media that's just like, I don't react, I just disappear. And I'm like, oh, really? You're going to have a bunch of shallow, superficial relationships in your life if that's how you handle everything. Like, we have to, I told you I'm on a rant. We have to do better. We have to do better. And I am going to use my platform to speak up about this programming that is happening on social media. Like, okay, don't react to everything. I'm not saying that. But if you want meaningful and deep connections in your life, you have to talk about things. You have to talk about things. You have to honor how you feel, and you have to communicate it to the people in your life. You have to communicate your needs. You have to communicate your desires. If you want to, one, love yourself radically, if you're ignoring your desires, if you're ignoring your excitement, if you're ignoring your needs and you're people pleasing and you're not paying attention to what you need, there's no way that you can love yourself radically. There's no way that you're going to feel fulfilled. So you have to communicate your needs and desires. And in order to communicate them, you have to identify them and honor them. So it's a process. It's a process. And I believe that self-love is a practice, just like self-care. Just like you work out every morning, or just like you work out, maybe you work out 3 times a week, just like you go to yoga once a week, self-love is a practice. You have to make that decision every single day. Put it in your practice. What am I doing today to love myself? How am I honoring myself today? How am I being self-loyal today? What is it that I need to feel love? What is it that I need to love myself today? Whether it's, taking a walk or taking a hot bubble bath, or just paying attention to what your inner child needs. I got done with therapy and I'm like, okay, inner child, girl, what you want? What do you want for doing this deep inner work? That's how I talk to my inner child sometimes. No, I'm joking. I'm being silly. But honestly, when you're doing the deep dive to really pay attention to the good, the bad, and the ugly, and what society deems as ugly, and looking at your shadow, and the shadow is like where we hold our pain and trauma and triggers, like, and the toxic patterns that come out of it, doing that work is uncomfortable. So celebrating ourselves. Are you celebrating yourself? That's another thing that's part of the journal exercise, is like, celebrate yourself. Like, name 10 things that you love about yourself. So not just like grateful in life, but like name 10 things you're grateful for about you, that you love about you. And they had a really hard time doing that. So I think it's really, really important for self-love, like true radical self-love, to get to know yourself on a deeper level and be willing to look at that shadow, pick up that rug, sweep whatever's under it from underneath, clear it out, get in the back of that closet. This is really funny, but I had a box of stuff in the back of my closet, and one of my friends was going to a festival and she needed like some festival clothes, and I'm like, all right, let me go in this box because I know I have a bunch of just like random festival pieces. And I open up this box and there was like so much amazing shit that I forgot about in this box. And so there was a lot of junk, but there was a lot of amazing things too. So going in the back of your closet, and I know I'm saying this metaphorically and literally, going in the back of your closet sometimes sucks because you're going to find a whole bunch of junk, and I'm just like, ugh, why do I still have this, But then you're also going to find some really magical things. You're going to find some desires that you let you let go of. You're going to find some passions that you forgot about. You're going to find things that excite you as well, because when you started blocking off certain parts of you because of pain and trauma, you also blocked off your desires and your passions and the things that lit you up. So with every trauma or piece of pain that you uncover, I guarantee there is something beautiful attached to it. And understanding all of those parts, understanding why you have this pattern, because it originated, in your childhood because this thing hurt you. But it may have hurt you because what you really needed was nurturing, or what you really wanted was, and I'll give you my example, what you really wanted was to sing, but you were told that you couldn't do this because of X, Y, and Z. So even though X, Y, and Z and how that played out was painful, you rediscovered your love for music. And I'm just using myself as an example. And so going through that process, as uncomfortable as it is, you can find the beauty in it. And I think that people who have a challenging time finding beauty in themselves find a hard time finding beauty in others. So the more that you can love yourself and fully accept yourself, the more you're going to be able to fully accept others. And I know for me, I've spent a lot of my life being like super critical of people because I'm super critical of myself. And when I started working on self-acceptance and self-compassion, I wasn't critical to others as much anymore. So that's why it's so important to look at these things like where we're judging others, where we're judging ourselves, and do the inner work, because that's what's going to lead to that radical self-love. Whew. All right, you guys. That's my message for today. It wasn't super structured like some of my other podcast episodes where I have my list of like 5 ways to work on self-love. So I'm going to give you one way to work on self-love. Go download my bundle, Radical Self-Love. It's going to include a guided meditation where I'm playing the sound bowls. So it's helping you really balance those chakras that are associated with self-love. So our solar plexus is our confidence, our self-worth, our personal power. The sacral chakra is our zest for life and creativity and passion and pleasure. And any other chakra that's included in there. It's infusing love in every chakra. So it's a really beautiful guided meditation. And then, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and attach the Radical Self-Love journal exercise that I just did at my live events at my meditation studio. So you can do that as well. It's really important for us to get to know ourselves on a deeper level, because there's no way that you can love something that you don't know, and it's so easy to get caught up in autopilot these days and just be going, and not really reflecting on these things and being mindful and being self-aware. So that is my tip. Go download the bundle. It's $14, so it won't break the bank. And yeah, work on your self-love. And, obviously there are a million things that you can do to work towards self-love, but I just want to remind you to be gentle with yourself. It's not a quick fix. It's not a one-stop shop where you do this thing one time and that's it. It's a daily practice. Checking in every morning and saying, how do I feel? How do I feel mentally, physically, and emotionally? What do I need today? What do I need today to feel my best? And loving your inner child. When you feel yourself triggered, when you feel yourself judging someone, when you feel yourself judging yourself, check in. Where is this coming from? And what is it that my inner child needs? This part that's creeping up, what does it need? And sometimes we judge our needs. So really making sure that you are being really accepting of yourself, and that's just going to create such a beautiful ripple effect in your life, because when you're accepting of yourself, you're going to be accepting of others. When you have self-compassion, you will have compassion for others. And I really think these days we're so hard on ourselves. Like, we are beating ourselves up, like scrolling for hours on end on social media, comparing ourselves to everyone on social media, everyone's relationships, everyone's business, everyone's body. It literally is self-torture, you know? So I really think that this is something huge. And I guarantee I'm going to have more podcast episodes on this because I feel like I just scratched the surface. So I would love to hear your feedback. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Not super organized like the other ones. Like I said, I didn't have any notes today, and I just wanted to speak from the heart. So hopefully you found value in this. If you know someone that needs to hear this message, please share this episode with them. And until next time, be decadent. Thank you for tuning in to the Abundance Hack Show. I would love to hear from you. Leave your comments and questions, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our yummy episodes. Every time you leave a 5-star rating or review, I do my happy dance.